Welcome everyone. Large group today. Holy geez. Welcome everyone to the March 31st monthly EVCO meeting. Is that where we're at?
Yep.
Anyways, so we are, yes, you're presenting first. Okay. So let's go through the agenda. If I could get my clicker to work. Should be working. Why is it not working? There we go. So the first topic, that's I guess the topic of the month is Ecology Ottawa will be here is here to talk about electric school buses. So you might be aware that the Trustee Foundation has been working throughout Canada to try to promote electric school buses. So we'll be talking about that. Then we'll go through the news. We'll go through past and future events, and roundtable as usual. So if you want to get going, you take clickers to you is yours.
Well, thanks folks for having me. My name's Nick. I'm the climate organizer at Ecology Ottawa, and we have an EV campaign. So it's great to be here to tell you about it and hopefully get some feedback. We had a great chat with Raymond the other week about all the technical aspects. And so hoping for any insights you might have today. So yeah, our campaign is for electric school buses. And we are Ecology Ottawa. We're a nonprofit environmental organization that operates in the city of Ottawa. We've been around for about 20 years now. Some of our biggest campaigns have been tree giveaways. We do a lot related to cycling, and we've obviously been opposed to some of the bike lane legislation that's been coming out. And most recently, we're working on 15-minute neighborhoods and electric school buses. Yeah, so the goals of this campaign, which is funded by the Trottier Family Foundation, is to try and secure funding for ESBs from the province. There have, of course, been, there's federal funding available, and we're also trying to work with school boards, as well as parents and teachers and ESB manufacturers to try and get as many stakeholders involved as we can. And we also would like to try and lengthen the private operator contracts from 5 to 7 years to 10 to 12 to make it a bit more enticing to take these buses on. So the benefits, I probably don't need to go on the climate benefits because I think we're all familiar with what those are. But the health benefits are pretty unique for electric school buses. I think obviously all transportation affects our air quality, but for buses, when there's kids, traveling maybe 30, 40 minutes to an hour on a school bus, very direct impact of those diesel emissions. And so that's one of the angles that we're really trying to hit on is the health impacts for kids because bad air quality does impact them quite uniquely. And then there's also the jobs and economic element, which we're trying to focus on right now, because if the auto manufacturing sector is about to be walloped, as it seems it might be by tariffs, we need to focus on ways that we can shore up domestic manufacturing. And one of those is electric buses and electric vehicles of all kinds for domestic use. So we have two coalitions that we're a part of for this. One is OESBA, which is the Ontario Electric School Bus Alliance. We're part of the steering committee, and there's several members, both manufacturers and advocates, that are involved that we work quite closely with. We meet with the steering committee every 2 weeks to try and coordinate and figure out what best to do. Recently, we're figuring out how to intervene in the many elections we've been having, both provincial and federal. And then we're also part of the National Canadian Electric School Bus Alliance, which has about 32 members, and they've also been working on how to relate to the federal election now that it's up and running. So in terms of what we've been up to, we released a report last year, which pretty much details a bunch of the benefits that I spoke to, as well as some other ones, and what we want to try and do with the campaign. And we're also trying to mobilize delegations to Ottawa school boards. We're also going to be ramping up door-to-door canvassing. And some of the questions that we have for that is, which areas to focus on, which neighborhoods are more likely to have parents and young kids in them who might be interested in this, and how we might work with teachers' unions and any parent groups that do exist. They are obviously all quite preoccupied with other priorities. I think there's no shortage of things for parents and teachers to care about right now. But that is an angle we're looking to those are groups we're looking to work with. And some of the challenges we've been having, of course, you're probably aware of Lion Electric, which is one of the biggest school bus manufacturers, and how nobody really wants to say, yeah, sure, we'll subsidize them greatly right now because they've been having challenges. But nonetheless, it is something we need to be investing in. Oh, all good. And yeah, and I think the other challenge we're finding is it's kind of like jurisdictional hot potato. You go to the school boards and they say, well, the province should be doing this. You go to the province, they say, well, the Fed should really be doing this. And it's a lot of back and forth. And so the goal is really to just get several key stakeholders to really get behind this, go to bat for it, so that it can take off in a serious way. So that's the campaign in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions or kind of hear any insights you have about, advice you might have for the campaign. I saw you first. Yeah.
What are the sort of the economics? If you have a 10-year sort of contract, wouldn't it just be more economical to have an electric school bus at this point? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
The sort of just the pure economics, I would think by 10 years, most.
Yeah.
So is that why you're looking at those, on a 5-year campaign, it may be cheaper to buy a brand new gas bus, but if you're going on 10 years, then it makes sense to put in the economics and all of that. Is that?
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely on a life cycle basis, it is a huge savings because there's less fuel, there's less maintenance. I think it's the upfront costs that are still getting people. I think Raymond, you were mentioning that that's probably going to even out.
Well, so I see some issues with what's been happening with Neo in particular, in that if you look at a conventional school bus, you're talking about a bit less than $100,000 for a bus, right? For the electric version from Neo, you're talking $300 and some thousand dollars. How can you justify $200,000 more in this day and age? So, 10 years ago when batteries were $500 a kilowatt hour, that was, you might be able to justify that. But today, these buses have got batteries that are, I think it's 200 kilowatt hour and less is what they are, because they don't need to travel very far, right? And 200 kilowatt hours times $100 per kilowatt hour is what? Is it $20,000? Why are the buses $200,000 more, right? And that's also, you have to take into account that the engine and the transmission that you don't need is more expensive than the electric motor that you replace it with, right? So the economics seem to be totally out of whack. Now, one of the positive things is that the other big school bus manufacturers are getting into that business. One of the challenges I see, though, is that one of the manufacturers, I never remember which one is, so there's Bluebird and there's Thomas Built, I think, right? Which are the big, and one of them is actually providing only fast charging for their school buses. And the other one is only providing AC charging, so level 2 charging. So fast charging is a lot more expensive to provide, right? Infrastructure is a lot more. So that and they're not doing the same thing. So there's issues there with, if you're buying a whole bunch of buses, what are you going to adopt, right? And obviously you guys understand that there's a cost to the charging infrastructure. One of the things that's unique to school buses, though, is that in the summer, school buses are mostly unused. Like well over 90% of the buses stay in the yard throughout most of the summer. Okay. So they're a great solution for storage, and they could be used in a vehicle to grid environment to provide peak power, right? And Lyon actually has several projects that they've implemented throughout North America where they actually do this. They've got the technology working and all that because they saw this as being one way for the school bus operator to get some of the costs back from the extra costs of the bus, right? So hopefully some of the economics will earn themselves out. This is no different in the transit world, by the way, except the transit world is much more expensive, right? A diesel bus is about $800,000, and electric bus is somewhere around 1.2 million. And again, there's no justification for the the large increase in price between the two. So hopefully economics and competitive pressures are going to help push down those prices and make that even more compelling. Because, if you think about it, to your point, even in a 5-year period, if the incremental cost of the bus isn't that high, they'll save money over 5 years. They don't even have to have the 10-year time frame, right? So, it should naturally occur, but at this point, there are big barriers with the upfront costs. So,
Okay,
Right.
so,
Yeah.
my name is Stephen Bailey. I'm sorry,
Hi.
what's your name? again?
Nick Rover. Yeah.
Nick, look, I invested in Lion Electric, a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it right now. I've lost 98.556% of my initial investment.
Yeah.
Think about that number. It
Mhm.
cost me $11.98. Today, it was up 4 cents. That's a 50% gain. Now it's 12 cents American.
Yeah.
So you're probably aware of where I'm going with this.
Mhm.
What you're standing in front here and you're saying Lion is like one of the partners, it's one of your stakeholders. I got one in the news here and I just saw this. There's a class action lawsuit.
Yeah.
And I just think what we got to be really careful, like who you pick as your friends. I picked the wrong investment here. That's on me. But I think people should be aware of
Yeah.
what's going on here.
No, for sure.
98%.
Yeah.
It says something.
Yeah.
No, they're not. It's not in good shape whatsoever.
Yeah.
And there are other manufacturers. And so when we say that, this is something that we should be investing in as a society, as a province, we're not saying give all the money to Lion Electric specifically. It's like it should be different manufacturers,
Yeah.
but
The only
yeah, it's the biggest one.
well, no, they're not. They're not. The other ones actually produce electric buses and have been for a while. So, yeah. So when I was in Edmonton 2 years ago for the EMC conference, they had actual production versions of their electric buses in the show. So they've been there. Now they're doing something similar to the car industry, where they're trying to cry wolf, or they're crying wolf, and they're trying to beg for money from anywhere they could get money. One of the things you're saying, which if you think about it, is doesn't make any logical sense. They're saying they don't have the capacity to build enough electric buses to provide for the demand. Okay, well, if you think about it, if it was status quo, they have enough capacity to build the buses that they are needed to replace the existing buses. Okay, well, if they build the same number of buses but they're electric instead, they'll have enough to meet nobody's talking about taking new buses and trashing them, right? Everybody's talking about when the bus is at end of life, you replace it with electric, right? So there's a lot of politicking to try to get government money involved and all this kind of stuff, right? So and of course, if you're an incumbent, just like the auto industry, this is a very difficult transition, right? And people are risk averse. So it's similar challenges as what we had in the transit space, but it's a matter of time that.
One, I saw a documentary about an electric vehicle manufacturer, Chinese owned, but a plant in Nevada. You're probably aware of that. And they had all sorts of headwinds because they're Chinese owned, but they seem to be very, very competitive.
Yeah. So BYD is they're selling. They've actually I think it's Toronto. The TTC bought some of their buses, but they had some quality issues with them. But yeah, there are others. And here in Ottawa, so someone mentioned briefly earlier the e-bus stuff, and OC Transpo is planning on buying some diesel 60-foot articulated buses because they claim that somehow they can't get electric ones. Well, they've said that the reason they don't want to do it is there's only one company in North America that makes them. That is true. New Flyer Industries are the only one who actually have one in market right now. But Nova Bus, the other competitor in North America, they're owned by Volvo, and Volvo makes articulated electric buses in Europe. And when we needed double deckers for here, where were they fabricated? Scotland. Okay, so why can't we do this with the articulated 60-footers? And you probably saw over the last little while with the snow we've had that the conventional articulated buses are a real problem in the snow. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but the point with the electric, yeah, but the point I'm trying to make with the articulated is the electric ones, they have power in the middle. So you don't have as much problems in winter conditions as you do with the diesels that have power only at the back, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Precedent.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I take your point. It's a unfortunate challenge we're having to manage, you know, and I think I saw your hand up earlier.
Yeah, talking about stakeholders, I was, with respect to the BTG, Hydro Ottawa is interested in building up more grid attached storage. I wonder if they might be interested in being a stakeholder
Yeah.
with you as well in using the buses.
Yeah.
Grid attached storage.
Sit around most of the day.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great
actually-
point. We just had a presentation from I think it was someone out in BC, and they were talking about what the success they've had with it, and one of their
Mhm.
partners was Hydro BC.
Yeah.
So it's something we'd good to replicate actually.
Well, actually,
Good
the other
point.
possibility here, Yeah.
Yeah.
In the form of school buses,
Yeah.
and still grid storage.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah,
Right, like you can sneak in some grid storage and give the bus operators a bit of money, a bit of revenue, right?
Yeah, so- and-
They won't.
so the other potential partner might be OREC, right? Because OREC is getting into projects like that anything that deals with energy now, they'll get involved in. So they may want to do that, so, yeah. But the question I have really is what can we be doing? So you had talked about school board delegations. Are there upcoming opportunities for some of us to go and talk to the school boards and help, you know, with the Ecology Ottawa's case, right? So,
Yeah, we have nothing, there's nothing upcoming, and we don't have something planned, but I will send along that information
Okay.
because it would be great. It'd be great voices to have, like people who know, like, yes, we know what we're talking about. We're
Mhm,
asking for this, so that would be fantastic. So once we organize the next one,
Mm.
plug you into it.
okay.
Oh, pun,
And-
plug in.
Yeah, and by and by the way, the way we got OC Transpo starting the process is we worked with one of the counselors and got the counselor that was on the transit commission
Yeah.
to request information from OC Transpo. Essentially, you know, why can't we do electric buses?
Yeah.
And so they had to respond to that, and then that meant that there had to be the response could have delegations, so we could go and talk about it, and
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So that's how we actually got it going. So if you know some of the commissioners, I guess,
Trustees.
trustees,
Trustees, yeah.
there's probably some of the trustees that would be interested in this, and
Yeah.
you know, they might allow you to get in there and get traction, right?
That makes sense. That's a good strategy. I have also, if I ever want information from OC Transpo, I never
Mhm.
ask them directly because they'll never reply.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I saw your hand as well.
I was gonna ask, as a segue into what is the source of the no's? You know, you said that everyone's pointing up, right? Municipality says it's province, province says it's federal,
Right.
federal it says it's not us, you know, like.
Yeah.
Are they too expensive? Do people not know what EVs are? Like, is there some way that we can help?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm understanding it as is if you're asking like school boards, they're sort of like, yeah, we don't have it in the budget. Tell the province so they can give us the money for it. And then the province says, well, there's this ZETF fund from the feds. They shouldn't you be going to them? And I think that's the source of it. It's like there's the potential or some mechanism for it that they're like, yeah, just get them to increase that or mobilize it.
People
But
just don't want to bother.
Well, I think the underlying issue is that there's an expectation it would cost more to provide service with electric buses. So the bus owners, they want to be able to bid a higher price. And if the school board would mandate that a certain percentage of the buses are electric, then they could do that and compete with others, right? But I think that fundamental premise that it's more expensive is a bit iffy, right? And if that gets solved, then I expect they'll do it anyways, regardless of what you know what the school boards want. But right now, as you probably know, funds are limited for anything that's funded by the province, right? And if the province isn't providing extra funding, nobody's going to go and want to lose money just because the buses are electric, right? So.
We need to start an electric bus company.
Alan has a question online.
All right.
Alan?
Well, just, I mean, we've also talked in the past about buy the car and lease the battery as a way of showing more equivalent cost structures. Are any of the manufacturers looking at that kind of structure? So it's not just all upfront cost. There's a monthly cost for the battery or annual cost for the battery.
Do you know if any are offering?
No,
So-
can you explain more about this model?
So so there's a company in China that's called NEO. You buy the car, but you lease the battery.
Been fast.
Okay. VinFast is the one I was thinking. Right? Yeah, but so instead of the reason they're doing that is that the battery adds to the upfront cost of the vehicle. And if you turn it into OPEX instead of CAPEX, it makes it easier to do the initial acquisition.
Right,
So
so the
the bus-
CAPEX component just
Yeah.
becomes the vehicle itself, and
Yeah.
then the battery is treated as a consumable similar to fuel or whatever, but you
Yeah.
know, it's not, it's a piece of hardware, but
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
and then you also deal with because it's the battery's leased, you know, the warranty is clearly covered by the leasing agreement, and you know, you're not left holding the bag on anything.
Yeah.
And you're not, you know, stranded asset if the company goes under or something,
Mm.
right? You don't have that big battery asset
And
issue.
honestly, that model even exists in aviation, right? Like
Mhm.
aircraft, when you buy an airplane from Boeing, you buy the plane, you don't buy the engines, you basically rent the engines from whatever company.
Right,
Right.
right.
Right, so it makes the thing cheaper, right, up front, and then,
Mhm.
yeah.
Because for those who've dealt with finance in large organizations, capital funding is very different from operational funding. Typically, operational funding is putting the diesel in a school bus, and you have to do that if you want to run the buses. So operational costs are things that essentially you do just because you have to. But the capital cost is a whole different thing. And the capital cost normally is financed. Okay, so you'll borrow money to buy a new bus and you pay some interest on it. And because the bus is more expensive, you pay more money and you have to recoup it somehow, right? And again, if you could do it over a longer period of time, like 10 years instead of 5, that will help the math, right? It'll help the economics.
I would make a minimum requirement of e-bus, like electric school buses for all the boards.
Mm.
And then have the bus companies lease the battery packs, but sell the buses at the same price as a diesel. Or less even, potentially, because you would have all the diesel nonsense. And then I would partner with Hydro Ottawa to do a vehicle to grid thing so that those bus companies can get a little bit of revenue when the buses are idle.
Yep.
Right?
Now, I like your idea a lot. The one thing I would say is I don't think Hydro Ottawa would be allowed to do that, but some of their subsidiaries might be.
Whatever, yeah.
And
figure that
and
out.
OREC would be able to do that.
Yeah.
right? So,
So you-
yeah, so this might be something to discuss with OREC.
Saying battery decrease the upfront cost as much as we're expecting, because think about the fact that the upcharge for an electric bus is $200,000 compared to a regular one, right?
Mhm.
But you're adding $20,000 with the batteries.
Mhm.
So there's $180,000 of extra cost added. For what? Well, probably to cover R&D and stuff, because we're still early days.
Mhm.
So the companies making these buses are gonna want that money either way. So you take the battery and lease it, now the cost of the bus is gonna go down by $20,000.
Well, no,
It's
the cost
still
of the
gonna
bus
be
itself,
$180 more.
it's the same chassis they've been building since I was a child,
Yeah.
right? So they,
So
that's
my-
already
My
like,
point is they're
Yeah.
demanding this price right now.
right,
Yeah.
because they're trying to recoup some.
But
Lease it, then you bring the cost down to the bare minimum for the capital,
Right, so.
and then they can make all their
Should they
profits
just
on the
lease the
lease.
entire bus then?
Yeah, it's like.
well, possibly, but I guess the point is there might be an opportunity for someone else like OREC or Hydro Ottawa to get into an agreement where they finance some of the costs
Yeah.
to make it
Because, like, the
viable.
fuel will be cheaper, like
Yeah.
ridiculous.
But I also
Yeah.
think like they're a huge, like, I mean, Lion was on the right path, offering, vehicle to grid and stuff. No, like, I'm a very technical person, so I look at things from like a more of an engineering perspective, but the way I see it, all of the hardware that you use to charge a vehicle is the exact same hardware you use to create AC electricity. So a competent hardware manufacturer would be able to create bi-directional chargers to go in the depot that cost basically the same amount of money as a regular charger, but that can go in both directions. This technology already exists. It's in, like Mike's Honda Ioniq 5 because the onboard charger is reversible. It uses the same amount of semiconductors.
So the Neon buses do this.
My point is, this is a very like technical comment. My
Mhm.
point is, it should be the case that these bus companies should be offering a comprehensive solution for their customers, including chargers that are bidirectional. You're gonna have to put the charger in either way. You're gonna have to put in the grid hookup either way.
Mm.
It's gonna have the capacity of the grid hookup is gonna be dictated by the power of the chargers. So if you make those chargers bidirectional,
Okay.
now you can send power back out,
Yeah.
and the op cost of your buses is going to be subsidized by your
Yeah.
electricity prospecting.
So Lyon does that. Okay, they've been doing that for a number of years. They do
know
that.
The other
So,
manufacturers aren't.
I
It
don't
also
know.
Sounds
whether-
like the other more established manufacturers probably have more of an opportunity to sell buses at scale, sell them at a lower cost. It really sounds like Leon is
Yeah.
struggling to scale, and that's why their buses cost $300,000. So I'm saying is, in a perfect world, if we had a company that was at scale, but that was also competent with the technology, that was selling, bidirectional chargers that made effective use of the hardware. Well, okay, that already exists. It's called BYD, but unfortunately, we can't buy those buses here.
Well, we could, but we have to pay a premium because of the duties. But the thing is, from my perspective, the problem is the same as the auto industry, right? The incumbents in the school bus industry, they've been doing what they've been doing forever, and they don't want to change unless there's a reason for them to change. In the car industry, most manufacturers don't build chargers, right? They let someone else build chargers. So, and most manufacturers today don't do vehicle to grid, right? So, the bus manufacturers are in a similar situation where this is all new for them, right? So we need to find ways to get them there, but us talking about it here is not going to make it happen.
Raymond, you said that it wouldn't be in the purview of Hydro Ottawa to get involved with this either. Is that because from a mandate perspective, they don't do small generations or what?
They don't do generation period. So if you look at the way the regulations are set up for, so if you look at the way the regulations are set up in Ontario through the Ontario Energy Board, Hydro Ottawa has things that they're allowed to do and things that they cannot do. And my understanding is they cannot produce power. And whether this means producing power or not, I'm not sure. But so what they've done is they have a wholly owned subsidiary, which is, no, it's not very Champlain Power or something, or Chaudière Power, something like that. They've got a power company. They've got Chaudière Falls and they've got a few other generating assets, but they're under a separate company. Okay, so Invari or that other company might be able to do something like that, but Hydro Ottawa itself would not be allowed to do that. Okay. OREC, I think OREC would be a great solution because OREC is really about dealing with that upfront capital cost and returning the benefits to whoever is doing stuff. So that's what they do with solar on roofs, right?
No. I put a note to look up what that means.
Okay, well, we could talk about it offline. So it's
That'd
the
be great.
Ottawa Renewable Energy Co-op.
Ah, perfect.
And what they've done mostly is that they own 2 windmills, but most of what they have is solar installations. And they've got solar on many schools here in the Ottawa area. And they also do energy efficiency projects. And in that case, what they do is they pay the upfront cost of doing things like LED lights, and they share the benefits with the organization that they're doing it for. And after a certain number of years, the infrastructure belongs to that organization, right? So OREC gets paid for the effort, and the organization gets a benefit right away because their operating costs go down, right? So.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is with the e-bus thing, the transit stuff, I'd like to, things are very busy right now, but I'd like to go to the transit commissioners and talk about the articulated buses and ask them, why are you doing that? Why aren't you looking at other buses? They first started talking about this issue with articulated buses about 3 years ago. Okay, things have changed in 3 years, and you know, to me, they should be really taking a serious look at this and reevaluating. The other thing that they quote unquote claimed that didn't exist, Milton just put in service a bus that's a diesel bus that at its midlife was refitted with an electric powertrain. Okay, so for those who don't know, OC Transpo, the other transit authorities have different timelines, but OC Transpo keeps a bus for 15 years, and somewhere around the 7th or 8th year of the bus, they do a full rebuild of the bus, and they usually change the engine and the transmission. So this company that's actually in Milton, probably that's why the transit company in Milton is doing it, they will do a refit. So instead of putting back a diesel engine, they'll put an electric motor and put batteries in, and then you get the benefits of electrifying your fleet much faster, right? I think Ottawa, OC Transport should look into that, because that would allow them to you know, finish the electrification much faster than otherwise they would.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Awesome. Well, thanks, folks. This was great. And as I said, we'll make sure to share any upcoming stuff we're doing or that's happening at school board or anything like that, because this would be great to
There's several of us here who have kids in school that right. So but he's but he
Next year, he's taking the red and white limos.
yeah, but he goes to school where there's school buses that emit all these fumes, right? I remember when I was a kid, the smell of this stuff was you know, incredible. So
yeah, I think
yeah.
Another quick question.
Sure.
Wow.
Alan's got a question.
Yeah, so I mean, who owns the capital, right? I mean, so the bus operators that are contracted are the ones today who, you know, buy the buses, run the buses, maintain the buses. And I'm wondering if there's an opportunity here for, you know, school board owned buses with investment from EVCO or OREC or something like that would, you know, or for other investors to, you know, own the asset for the buses within the school board, so that there's less, you know, risk and so on. And then yes, the bus operators are providing the staffing for the system or something like that. I mean, there may be other models there that might be more economical than, you know, because I mean, a bus company, operator company, they have to make a profit on their capital investment, and if they own that capital investment, they're going to expect a certain return rate for their ownership, right?
So let's go back into history, but because I remember this vividly when it happened, because I was taking a school bus at the time. So in the mid 70s, there was a strike. So the buses used to be owned by the school boards here in Ottawa anyways, and there was a strike by the bus drivers. And what ended up happening is a lot of people who were taking the yellow buses got switched to OC Transpo because the school boards didn't want to, you know, didn't want to increase the salaries of the bus drivers and all that. They got some of the kids to go to OC Transpo, And what ended up happening is they privatized and outsourced all of the bus transport. So now you have ML Bradley is one of the providers that around Ottawa. There's a bunch of others that have school buses, but essentially the school boards, there's a transportation alliance or something with where they all get together and they
It's,
contract out the school
it's
bus.
Asta?
Right? Sorry?
Asta?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they contract out the school bus service centrally, but the contracts are all the service is provided by private entities, and as you may know, the bus drivers are among the least well paid out there. Okay.
So this was union busting. Gosh.
Yeah, it was
Didn't know that
union
history.
busing. Yeah, it was union busing at the time. But there's a large turnover of bus drivers in the school bus business, and that's largely because it's a thankless job that doesn't get paid much, right? So, if you ask me, what should they do? I absolutely agree with you, Alan. It should go back to the school bus owning the bus and running them, right, and having people paid a decent wage, not a minimum wage, right? Yeah.
Private operators have to pay more.
But the problem with the private operators is they compete against each other. So there's a race to the bottom, right? To
Sure,
reduce
they can just
costs,
put
right?
side-
Yeah, yeah, right.
But I mean, I guess this brings up a point, like, why are we talking to the school boards at all? Maybe we should be talking to ML Bradley
Yeah.
and convincing them to buy the buses.
So ML Bradley has one electric bus,
Yeah.
and we've had it at an event at Lansdowne before. I've talked to their general manager or whatever he is. He would love to transition the whole fleet to electric. The problem is the upfront capital cost. Okay. Okay. Now, the other thing that's been happening with VO in particular, I'd say the leader in Canada for school bus electrification is PEI. Okay, about half their school buses at the moment. I think it's half, right, Nick? Somewhere around there. That PEI, about half their buses right now are
Yeah.
electric, I think, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of them, if not all of them, are Lyon, and they're having maintenance issues. They're having reliability issues.
One out of their 2 buses is electric.
Yeah.
You don't need like one electric bus.
No, population.
Oh, people.
Yeah. So,
Almost as many
Yeah.
as like Orleans.
yeah, but they have, I think, on the order of 200 to 400 buses. It's not just one or two, right? But
Listen, I've listened to a documentary about Leon buses and PEI. One of the problems they have field trips.
mhm,
You gotta go from the depot to the school. And then you go from the school a half an hour later on a field trip. And then you have to bring those kids home.
Yeah.
On a very full day in January or February, you're running up against range anxiety. And it's a recognized issue with Leon buses and PEI.
so that is true with any electric vehicle of that type. The reality, though, is that is cherry picking the worst case situation to make a case against electric
Yeah.
school buses. So they haven't electrified all the buses in PEI right now. They could use a diesel bus for that field trip if they want to and solve the problem, right?
You're right.
Hmm?
I've run a fleet of vehicles
Hmm.
before in a past life. And what you want to have when you're running that fleet, you want to have flexibility
Mhm.
of choice. And it just runs against, if you're that guy who has to run that fleet, it gives you an issue that you don't want to have to deal with on top of everything else.
Yes. Now, that being said, if the economic costs are enough to justify it, you're going to want to, you don't want to have the extra constraint, but you'll put up with it because the upside is so big, right? But yes, Mike, we do have to move along. So thanks a lot, Nick.
Yeah, thank you.
Looking forward to
Yes.
collaborating more. For those who don't know, by the way, originally when we did the OC Transpo thing, we did it with Ecology Ottawa. Nick and William, the executive director, weren't there at the time, but we did it with Ecology Ottawa, and we actually did some canvassing door to door in the Transit Commission's chair's ward to try to put pressure on them. So anyways, the clicker is here. Okay. So next section is the news. So I'll let Lawrence.
Me.
You
know, has anyone ever like touched their car and then gotten a static shock and was like, well, this is it?
that was a big spark to this.
All right. Number one news item. Our predictions for EV market rates and market shares in Canada is still roughly on track. 2024 stats came in, we're at almost 15%, and that's plug-ins, so EV and plug-in hybrid, right, Mike? This includes plug-in hybrids?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, yeah, you know, it's exciting. Last year's stats not off the press. So for next year, this means we can expect to be on track at approximately 20%. I think the prediction was 22. So we'll see. We'll see, you know, how all of the upset in the market affects things. I wouldn't be too surprised if there was a bit of a slowdown for a year. Probably still some growth, but maybe another, you know, slowing rate of growth, and then a catch up later on in the decade.
So
But we'll see.
yeah, so there's been a lot of things with subsidies, and Quebec just announced they're bringing back the
Yeah.
subsidy.
Well, also, yeah. Oh well, this is another news item, so I'll say this when I get to the news item. But I was actually really happy to see this because, you know, I think that for any EV enthusiast, the Leaf has a special place in your heart, even though it is a very outdated vehicle with batteries that degrade and probably has done lots of damage to the reputation of EVs. But fortunately, they're finally refreshing it, and it's going to be a real modern EV based on the Aria platform. They're promising some big range figures. I mean, that 600-kilometer figure, that is WLTP. So realistically, it's probably going to be pretty similar to what you'd get out of like a long range Model Y or something like that. But still really nice to be coming from a smaller vehicle that's hopefully going to be affordable. And the rest of the details are going to come in June. Some news came from BYD about their new platform. They keep, you know, one-upping each other in China with all their charging rates. I mean, numbers like this, they, you know, if you make a big enough battery, 1 megawatt is like nothing, right? But like, you know, a megawatt charge rate on a Hummer EV, which has a 200 kilowatt hour, that's 5C, which is the same, you know, that, yeah, that's like reasonable, right? So, but I looked into this, and it is actually like genuinely impressive what they did, because it wasn't like a 200 kilowatt hour battery or something. Like it was like a regular sized like 100 kilowatt hour battery. So they're actually charging it at 10C. And they're not just like, you know, killing the battery doing this. Like they have appropriate cooling systems, like like you could actually, you know, do that. And of course, it's not holding 10C deep into the pack. Like, of course, it's tapering, but still, it still means you can, you know, fill up a 400 kilometers worth of range in 5 minutes, kind of thing.
I look. So the 400 kilometers in 5 minutes is little.
Well, so it is a 100 kilowatt hour pack, right? So it should be about 600 kilometers of range for the full pack. So 405.
Yeah, it's still.
But also, oh yeah, also keep in mind that CLTC range, right? So 400 in CLTC is like 200 or 250 in real world. So
So regardless, though, this is a significant, significant increase of what we've seen before, and that's the direction.
yeah, and it is exciting because the other thing like people need to remember is that you know, people are like, oh yeah, but like the grid connection is going to be impossible for this. No, it's not. What matters is how much energy the car actually needs to get out. Like people drive a certain amount, right? If you want a certain grid connection can service a certain number of cars. Charging sites are already adding buffer batteries. So the grid connection has nothing to do with the peak charge rate of the actual chargers on site. Those are two completely separate variables when you have a buffer battery in the middle. So having the buffer battery means I can now serve, you know, keep my charging stations more available, so there's more parking spots. They're not going to be as full all the time because the cars are going to be in and out faster. So yes, the car is there, it's absorbing more power, but it's there for a shorter amount of time. It's absorbing the same amount of energy. Ergo, the grid connection is still serving the same number of cars. So that's not like really something to be concerned about. I think charging rates are still going to continue to climb until we start saturate. Like 1 megawatt, that's probably about all we'll ever see on consumer chargers, just because you can only really cram about 1,000 amps, 1,000 volts. That's
But I
1
guess
megawatt.
your basic point is, regardless of how fast you charge the car, the amount of energy required on a daily basis is not going to change. right?
Exactly.
So, not very much. Not very much.
You'll have a little bit less efficiency, yeah. Yeah.
No, but the individual cars will still use the same amount of energy. Yes.
Yeah, but the nice thing too is that by using a strategy like this where you have more posts than you can actually max out with your grid connection, then you don't have to charge people idle fees to get them out of the spots. So imagine how nice it would be to, go to an en route and like half of the parking spots are just charging stalls.
Mark.
And then the nice thing about oversizing, right, is that then you don't have to run to your car to unplug it. Because if your car charges in 5 minutes, you're still going to be on the toilet.
Yeah, but that
Yeah. At least if you have 15 minutes, at least you actually have a shot at getting a coffee. But
Anyways.
I'm whatever with Matt, undecided with Matt, and we talked about this as a sort of Patreon thing on the weekend, and he's going to do a video on this. And what we sort of said was, the reality is we don't really need it.
I'd be annoyed if my car took less than 10 minutes to charge, because then I'd have to stand there and wait for it.
Exactly. But the thing is, we get that. Everybody in this room understands that we don't want a 1 megabit.
We don't need.
Yeah.
We don't need. We probably want it.
So
but we don't need
we
it,
actually
right?
though we will, when we get to the point of your Ford F-350 equivalent is electrified.
Sure. My point is that we can do what you're suggesting already today with 350s, and they're still not putting the damn things in because of reasons.
So
right?
so
Like,
Mike.
they insist on putting in 50s everywhere, which is the bare.
Well, who's still putting in 50?
There's nobody putting. There's no Flow is doing better than that. But anyways, but Mike.
Yeah, even like Ivy is going to be using what is it, Chempower units. So
But Mike, the thing is, this is going to be a bit like Tesla having the fastest car on the market, right? The big thing, the big boogaboo that the oil industry is saying about charging cars is it takes more than 5 minutes. Problem fixed. Right?
Because I want a vehicle I can charge,
Yeah, but then
fill
you
up
just
in
move the goalposts again. So
5
like,
minutes.
those arguments are always.
No, but Mike, regardless, that's an argument that's being used. The argument disappears. You're right. We don't really need this, and I've talked enough about my long trips that the charging
they're gonna shut up about here.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're still gonna we're gonna be here and they're still gonna be in denial.
In 2017.
2016.
Oh, the data that
2017 on this.
yeah. So the data starts a bit earlier because we use historical data. Yeah.
Alan had a question.
Well, just a point in the meeting room when people are speaking from the back of the room, we don't hear you for about 20 seconds before the noise cancellation decides that you're not noise, and then we hear your voices at the end of your statement. So if you can repeat any statements at the upfront presenters, that would be helpful.
Stick one of these. Can I take it off the charge? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the other point I was just wondering is if with the higher rates of vehicle charging, is there cost benefit to the providers? I mean, obviously the number of units needed to serve the number of cars is smaller, so maybe there's some efficiency there. I'm just wondering,
Yeah,
you know,
the main,
hopefully cost
the,
benefit is going to help drive
the
this.
main cost benefit argument you could make is real estate. So if you're, this probably, won't make sense on like the side of a highway where there's plenty full space. I think especially, you're probably seeing this technology because China has a lot of very crowded cities with people who now own a lot of electric vehicles who actually fast charge them on a regular basis. Right. And so if you're setting up a charging station in a small parking lot and you want to have the highest possible throughput of cars, then it does make sense to have higher speeds, right? You're going to make the most out of the real estate, which is expensive. In terms of, what would be the driver for seeing this, just competition between charging providers who want to provide the best service for customers who want to charge fast. But yeah, I mean, people are right. Like, we're not going to see megawatt in Canada for a while, but it may be sooner than we think. I mean, remember like in the 90s when we thought that an 8 gigabyte hard drive was like the most we'd ever need ever?
Well, I had a 40 megabyte hard drive back then.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways, let's go on to the next.
Yeah, so Canada has frozen the rebate payments for Tesla while they're under investigation. I'm sure everyone's heard about how there was a suspicious claim of cars. So we're still waiting to see what that actually was. If it was a backlog of cars being brought up, possibly, who knows? We don't really know what happened because the investigation hasn't been actually released. But on a similar note, Tesla has also been banned from future rebates, not because of the alleged fraud, but just because of the rebate drama, or sorry, the tariff drama. I mean, drama is probably, understating it a bit there, but yeah, I mean, it's all obviously makes sense. Elon Musk is aligned with the person who is inflicting tariffs, so it makes sense to put as much pain as possible on him. Yeah. And then Nova Scotia, Manitoba, and PI have done the same thing with their rebate programs. Don't know about Quebec. Some good news from Rivian. I think it was their quarterly meeting or something like that. They stated that the R2, their Illinois factory expansion is actually ahead of schedule. Good. Things often fall behind schedule, so hopefully this means it'll be on schedule. Yeah, and the that plant in Normal, Illinois is expected to produce 215,000 vehicles when it's done. It's going to continue to produce R1T and R1S and delivery vans on top of the R2s. They're also building another plant. I don't remember where. Does anyone remember where? Georgia, maybe? Yeah. So that I think is on pause because they just don't have a lot of cash flow right now. But that's going to produce even more R2s eventually. So we're all rooting for Rivian because we need a, non-traditional automaker to make EVs because they tend to be better at it. That's not Tesla. Rivian, please make a sedan.
The problem with them, the SUV goes for 105 and the pickup goes for 140.
Yeah, but there are two will be cheaper, right? Like that's the Tesla model. That's not the same.
True, but I'm waiting.
And other Rivian news, they made an ice cream truck with one of their R2 vans, which just looks cool. So,
No, it's not our R2 van.
or sorry, I meant their delivery van. Some news about different companies selling electric fire trucks. The article I don't think had really like much statistics to share. It's just saying that adoption's growing.
Is that Victoria, BC? I think so. Right?
It looks European to me.
Yeah, I know there's one in BC, but I wasn't sure if it was Victoria or Vancouver. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Maybe. Yeah, anyway, there's a bunch of different fire truck companies offering this now. They usually have backup diesel generators on board, but yeah, it's nice for them to be able to do their normal sort of duties. And I think when you're driving to the site of a fire, you don't have to go very far. So probably you don't even need much batteries in these things. And that was all I had for today. There was, yeah, news this past month was like 90% Tesla drama, which I didn't want to relive. So there we go.
It will
The only
be,
thing that you might want to put in the Tesla drama is that Elon has announced he is quitting Doge in a month.
yeah, but he's,
With Tesla?
is he getting saner? The damage is done, in my opinion.
Maybe if
Oh,
he
it
does
is.
more drugs,
So,
he'll actually become sane.
yeah,
Like, if
maybe.
he loses enough brain cells, he can't be crazy anymore because you don't even think anything.
Right background.
Anyways, we'll see how it goes, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see the sales numbers for Tesla in the first, actually the second quarter. Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah,
For the second quarter will be more interesting because the Model Y transition will have happened by then.
yeah,
But some
that's
peop-
what they keep saying is that the first quarter, oh, it's all transition,
Yeah,
it's all
yeah,
move,
yeah,
it's all whatever.
It's, I don't think it is. One of the things I saw is that they did a survey in Germany of 100,000 people. 94% said they would never, ever buy a Tesla.
That sounds stupid.
So, yeah, so
Yeah.
you can't have a viable business for mass market products if only 6% of the population is willing to buy your product, right? So anyways, we'll see how it turns out. It's
I mean, I was at the Tesla dealership today
Mhm.
and there were like 10 Cybertrucks
Mhm.
on the lot, you
Yeah.
know?
yeah.
We would call them white pants.
Yeah. So I passed by them the other day and I saw that they have a whole bunch out there. They're still waiting to be sold, right? So
Yeah,
anyways, so kilowatts and coffee, we had quite a few this month, and so 5 of them. And in terms of small events, I did a thing with it's UBC, I believe it is, that was doing this talk program, and I did it obviously virtually, right? But very interesting. I did the EV 101 presentation. Lots of good questions, and I actually managed to finish exactly at 90 minutes. But anyways, yeah, can you believe that? So a good companion center, that was less of an interesting,
1 hour.
Yeah.
90 minutes.
yeah. Well, I had a break in the middle. I had to have a break and take questions, and then, anyways, good companions. It took 60 minutes, that one too, more or less. But no, was not well attended, which I was very disappointed with. But the person who was organizing it was forced to take their vacation while this was happening, and I think didn't remind people that they should be showing up. And anyways, it wasn't as well attended as I would have liked to see. So, and the same with the other events you'll see. So here, March 4th, we normally don't do EV events before at least April because of the weather, right? So we did the EV day on March 4th. There was a panel from 12 to 1 that was quite well attended, and that was I thought a very good session. Lots of good questions from the audience. But the actual event where we're showing cars, well, we did have some interesting stuff. So I called Surgeoners up the day before and said, hey, so we were supposed to have a Rivian and supposed to have a Ioniq 6. And the two people, the two people decided or could not join us at the last minute. So I was stuck with only 2 cars. So anyways, call Surgeoner. They brought a Equinox EV, and they brought one of the Cadillacs, not the Lyriq, the Optic, yeah. And it's a very nice vehicle, by the way. Starting price $64,000,
Wow.
which is Model Y territory, right? Very, very nice car. So anyways, so it was very nice for them to do that, and we got the opportunity to show it, but not much attendance outside. It was actually snowing most of the day, so it was terrible day to be outside, but we had still had a bit of fun. So the other thing that happened was yesterday, actually, in Orleans, we had this climate fest thing. Again, the weather yesterday was terrible. and they still went away with the event, still did the event. So we didn't have lots of attendance. We still did the presentation. Well, aside from the organizers and all that, there were about 6 other people. It was just really not well attended. So we were supposed to have much more than that. But anyways, the fresque, as it shows, this shows you what the fresque result would look like. So the idea is to teach the public about climate change, but to teach them about what the sources are, what the activities are that lead to GHGs, and how things go through the system and the consequences. Okay, so you can see here global inequality, that kind of stuff, population issues, displacement, and all that. So it helps you understand what the relationship is between things and where the problem comes from, right? So of course, the problem comes from over here. But anyways, that's a drill down into it. Okay. So again, the climate fresque. Okay, so upcoming events. So monthly meeting, April 28th. There's a little problem there. That's election day. So we're gonna see what we want to do with that. We're gonna talk about it at the board. We might postpone it. Yeah, we might postpone it. Yeah, so we'll see. I know myself, I wouldn't be able to be here. So. Yeah, anyways, so that's the date right now. I'm pretty sure we're gonna change it. So
Not a good day.
yeah, not a good day at all. And I know I'm gonna be busy that day. Big time.
us are gonna be working on
So,
election,
yeah.
be busy.
Yeah. Kilwan Coffee, we are starting to go back into the field. So we're going to Three Sisters. And the Gatineau shows on the weekend of the 12th. So we don't have a Coassin Coffee. But the other places, again, are places that we usually go in the summer when the weather is more favorable. Okay.
Is that the Gatineau car show?
Yes, the EV show. But okay, so we'll talk about that. Okay. So.
Slide.
So they've actually changed the branding. Okay, so the promoter Jean-Pierre Julien, when all of this stuff started happening in the U.S. and things happened with the subsidies that were, chaotically stopped and all that. Anyways, he got really nervous, and it's his money that runs the show. So he makes money or not based on attendance on the show, right? So he got nervous. He's going to allow dealers to bring non-plug-in vehicles. Okay, not particularly happy with that. The test drives will only be electric vehicles, 100% electric vehicles. Okay, so there'll still be test drives. We are looking for volunteers. We have some people a few people who volunteered. We're looking for more.
Signed up today.
You signed up? Okay, great. And again, you do not need to be bilingual for this. One of the things they're doing this time around is they actually have an English website, and they're doing some publicity on the Ontario side to try to get more people interested. For those who know the region, you know that Elmer's got lots of English-speaking people who would also want to participate, right? So whether you can speak French or not is not an issue here. You're more than welcome to participate. We are looking at using mostly dealer vehicles, okay, to get away from the insurance issues and people who just do not want, for whatever reason, someone else to drive their vehicle. Okay, it's not something that most people want to do, right? So it should be a good event. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out, but I think it's going to turn out fairly well.
So that's
And-
being sold as all sorts of vehicles, because I saw an ad recently
Yes.
for a Gatineau car show that was EVs, hybrids, and
Yes.
ICE. But
Yes.
so that's the one. Okay.
That's the one. Yeah.
Just opened the
Now
doors.
the cars inside the show will be mostly electric.
Okay.
Okay.
cool.
But they're not sure, but there will most likely be some fully gas vehicles.
And we
I-
can make fun of the gas.
Yeah, but there is a silver lining to the cloud. Okay, so some people wouldn't go to an EV show, but they'll go to a car show,
Then
and then we could talk to them.
If you want a louder, slower, less reliable car,
Yeah.
you can buy one of the gas
Okay.
burners over there and spend a lot more money on fuel. Or
Okay.
you can drive this cool car that's very quiet and very.
So it opens up the audience
Yeah.
The show seems to be branded as an electric vehicle.
This is the old branding. Okay, I
Okay,
I
so
didn't
they
refresh
changed
it. I was busy this week. I didn't work too much on the presentation.
Calm down. All right.
Okay. But it is 3 days and there's time slots in the spreadsheet. If you have time, please help us out. There was an issue with, I think I had it here before, that the EVCO didn't have money originally to help with the show. So normally they get money from Equitaire to run these shows.
That's the,
Association des véhicules électriques du Québec. So they're like us, but they cover all Quebec. Much more resources. Anyways, so they got money from Equitaire in the past. They got money again this year. They didn't think they would get it, but they got some money, so they'll be able to provide lunches and stuff like that. So the issue they have is they get volunteers from across the province, and if there's someone comes from Quebec City or something for the show, they have to lodge them as well as feed them, okay? And that costs money. It ends up being hundreds of dollars per person per day, right? And they're a nonprofit, but they have to find the money somewhere, okay? And they have found some money, so that's a good. Alan, you have a question?
Presumably the ride and drives is still only electric, not gas cars.
Yes, yeah, so
Okay,
I thought, I thought I had mentioned that they will only be electric cars in the test drives. Okay,
Excellent, thanks.
only electric. There's not, in the previous years, there were bike test drives you could do inside the facility. That will not be there this year. So I think what they want to do is use the space for yet more vehicles. So anyways, again, we'll see how it goes. It's a change in how they're doing it. And, if they could attract some people that otherwise wouldn't go, they might be able to get more attendance. And
just get like one token box Toyota and like park it next to an EV side by side that's equivalent. And then be like, I mean, this is your classic Toyota Corolla. Or you can get into the EV and it's like a spaceship, have that juxtaposition right there. Because every time I climb into like an old gas burner, it's like going back in time. It's like the 90s in there.
I drove a gas truck
Yeah.
for the
it's like,
elections,
oh my God, this is
and,
like Back to the Future.
and it's got no guts, right? So it was quite the experience, and I had to actually fuel it. And I was joking with the guys that I didn't know how to do that, but anyway. So the other thing we have is a Blackburn Hamlet Discovery Cafe. That's a short event. Don't need very many people, but it's the 24th. And yeah, I think you're slated to do the presentation.
Is that April?
Yeah, the 24th.
That's a Thursday.
Yes, it's a weekday.
I
It's a
could,
weekday. I could do
I
it,
could
or
do
if
that
you want to do it,
presentation.
sure.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, you're already there.
Yeah, that's why.
So convenient.
That's the most electric transportation of all.
Yeah. So it's I can't remember where it is actually. I think it's at the community center at the Lois Kemp Arena. I think, not sure. Anyways.
At the city hall, Blackbird City Hall.
It's in the
Yeah,
community
yeah.
hall where we had the meeting and last,
Yeah, so that's beside the Lois Kemp
Summer.
Arena, right?
yep,
Right,
exactly.
yeah, okay, so, yeah, so.
Right beside the EV chargers.
Yeah, 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 well, so we don't need very many vehicles, it's just to show them after, but
Yeah.
if
There's
people
only
want to
the
see them,
average,
so,
average attendance is about 30 to 40 people, depending on the
Yeah.
topic, so.
yeah. So it should be fun,
Yep.
So next event after that, the day before the election, is a North Grenville Sustainability Fair and EV show. So that, if you'd like to volunteer, we're still looking for more people. We do have some volunteers, but we could always use more. We're working with the organizer to get as many dealer vehicles for test drives once again, okay? Yes,
Have these been added to the spreadsheet?
they are in the spreadsheet, yeah.
Okay.
They've been there
That's what I
for
was
a while,
just
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so anybody who'd like to volunteer, please, we're always looking for more people. So here, those of you who have been to the event before, there's an arena where they put a bunch of cars in there, and they have other stuff, sustainability stuff that's not EV related, right? So it's a pretty good event, and the attendance is quite good actually. So it's a great opportunity for us to contact the public. And actually, I think it's Jeff. Jeff is doing a presentation. So Mike, Jeff Knapp is doing a presentation on EVs. Okay. Not you, okay?
Oh.
Well, yeah, you're off the hook, yeah. So May 3rd, the event after that, May 3rd, it's the other Jeff that's organizing the show is a friend of Jeff Knapp, so I think that's how it happened. But that's fine. Jeff is good at talking. So so May 3rd, Earth Fest in Carleton Place. So we've done that last year. It was pretty successful. We had quite a few test drives. I'd like to do the same thing again this year. I would like to borrow vehicles for this one, but we'll see how how we could get that organized before the event, because again, this is not too far after the election, right? May 24th, Eco Fest in Westport. This is an event we have not been at before. It's I believe their third version. If Kristen's on, she could tell us. I think they're trying to make this an annual event. And they've last year, if I remember correctly, Kristen had talked to them about having EVs, and they weren't so sure, but this year they want us to be there. So we'll be able to, it'll be a small event for us, but we'll have the opportunity to present and show a few cars, okay? There we go. So reminder, if you're not a member, that you are more than welcome to subscribe. And of course, you could donate if you want to, but that hasn't been a popular option up to now. But you know, for those of us who sold lots of Tesla stock, you know, maybe it's something you could do with that. Anyways, it's just a joke. But so I didn't check how many subscribers we have. So we have a channel on YouTube where we put recordings of our meetings and other stuff. So you're more than welcome to consult that. And I think that is it. So Mike, do you want to do the? Well, I don't remember what you say. So here, I'll give you the mic.
Get out of my chair.
For those of you watching on YouTube.
All right, so for those of you watching on YouTube, this is where your video ends. But for those of you live with us, stick around for the roundtable, and we'll see you all on YouTube next month.